You've all heard it. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Everyone wants growth until growth demands change. And we are such creatures of habit that we just end up doing the same thing the same way over and over and over. And then we're frustrated because we don't get results. Today's conversation is about building a business, developing leaders, and becoming the kind of person capable of handling success without losing what matters most. It's a conversation about leadership, about faith, pressure, growth, and purpose. This is Kingdom Entrepreneur, his kingdom, and your calling. Let's go. I want to welcome my friend and the founder of Ag Empire, Jonathan Harrelson. Jonathan, just start off, welcome to the podcast, and start off by giving us, a 90-second, 30,000, 40,000 foot view of who you are, how you got to this point in business and life, and what's really exciting you right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. And I went to A&M. I fully intended to come back to the family farm and uh, didn't have that opportunity. So I had to go out into the world and sold chemical seed and fertilizer and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
Worked with Texas Farm Bureau and was able to be involved in the lobbying for landowners and farmers and ranchers. Learned a lot in that, built relationships, and then had an opportunity to buy out a an older gentleman that I'd built a relationship with,
Mhm.
and built our own farm and started to grow it. And we got, starting from scratch, we were at 1,500 acres of row crop blackland dirt in central Texas. And then we got a pretty sizable cow herd, and we were living the dream. And so we went down that road. And in that, I identified that I was kind of not normal, I guess. And some of the guys that I actually looked up to reached out and sought my advice on their finances, on how to structure certain things, and from a marketing standpoint. And in that, I was also working with Daniels Trading and a commodities broker with StoneX whenever we got bought out. But um, I just had a knack for looking at the 30,000 foot view and then kind of developing a path to actually navigate those waters. And it's been a wild ride up until now. And then in that, we've helped out a lot of producers. We've built, Empire Ag was set up just to one. We were just consulting in Texas, and I honestly, I just that was too small of
Mhm.
thinking. And now we're in 24 states, and we've got producers from East Coast, West Coast, and any product that is grown in the United States, we get to work with them on. So
All right, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. A lot of people dream about building something meaningful, but really very few actually do it. It's easy to just caught in the trap of doing the same thing day after day after day. Maybe it's because you all you know, or sometimes you just get tired, and that's really all you want. What do you think separates people who stay stuck, separates them from those who truly build something bigger than even they thought initially?
I think and I think it goes from the employee mindset, and I think even I possess this. But deep down, I always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I just didn't know exactly what I was going to derive or what was going to trigger me to jump out and really, really go do that. Um, in this, I was able to take agriculture, which I was raised around my whole life, and I believe the wins and the losses that we experience in agriculture, I think one help us build our faith. I think it's one of the one occupations that you're going to see it, you're going to live it, and you're going to feel it, and you're going to know that God's around you. And I mean, for me, that was one of the things that I can't replicate that in any other industry, so to say.
Right.
The what I would say is, like in that journey, um, it's just one of those. I'm sorry, Ray, I lost my train of
No, you're
thought
good.
there.
You're good. Just really talking about what it is that sets people apart, that causes them maybe to take the leap and say, "I'm going to actually
Oh,
build something bigger than what I've known and what I've done."
yeah. So I think when I got to noticing this, and one of the biggest aspects was one of the farmers that I had been working with, a good friend of mine. Like I looked up to him.
Mhm.
He had the new fleet of equipment. He had all the land. Like there was just lots of things that I aspired to try to be like him. What I didn't know was pulling the curtain back and realizing that he was struggling,
Mm.
and and it was mentally, spiritually, physically, and so this perfect aura that you put around other people and other businesses, I was able to see that firsthand, and that really opened up my eyes that, like, hey, I could help these people. I could fulfill, I think, God's promise of, one, helping them become, spiritually better, which
Mm.
in turn makes them mentally better, physically better.
Right.
And then they end up being a better husband, a better father. That was my goal when we first started. And I was like, there's not many times that you can align, you know, that the calling and, your business venture.
Right.
And so we started with that. And so by stepping out, I mean, there was yeah, stepping out was probably one of the scariest things in the world. Was, one, believing in yourself and
Mhm.
realizing there is no plan B. I mean, that is, plan A is it, and we're all in. Um, and then it really gets down to one simple thing:
Mm.
is find a problem and solve it,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Right.
That There's no magic sauce. It literally is find a problem and solve it. And so, we built our business off of that, and we've got different
Mhm.
verticals in the business, but it's all about solving a certain problem within that industry.
Wow, three
And
great things you shared there. First, people talk about trusting God, and it's kind of a cliche in other areas about other businesses about I'm gonna bet the farm, but
yeah,
in ag, you literally are betting the farm, and so overcoming that fear, and then solving a problem. I tell people for myself personally, but then also in coaching, like I need a new set of problems. If you just keep solving to the same problem over and over and over instead of being proactive and getting ahead of it and saying, I want to fix this one so that I don't keep dealing with the same thing. That that you do stay stuck right there. The problem becomes the very definition of your business. And so you talked about trusting God and that there is nothing like agriculture to teach you to trust. What are some of the lessons that you've learned in agriculture about literally just trusting God? I was going to say completely, but I think I always think about in Mark that there's the guy who brought his son, and he says, if you can help him, and Jesus said, if you can, all things are possible to him who believes. And he says, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. And so he holds on to faith, but at the same time, he recognizes, man, I don't have it figured out completely. I don't trust completely. But what are some of those lessons that you've learned in agriculture that have really helped you to trust God more fully?
I think one of the things is, when when you're having a bad day and you walk out there and you see a crop, a young crop that's growing, whether it's corn, wheat, cotton, I mean, whatever it is, there's a sense of renewed spirit. So knowing that, hey, we're starting fresh. Whatever happened last year, like, that's last year. And that's one of the beauties about every 6 to 8 months in a crop cycle in agriculture. We're able to see that renewed spirit. So, like, even us as humans, there's times where we're on fire, and there's times when we're not.
Hmm.
And God knows that. God understands that. And I think for us to realize that in business also, like, we're gonna have hot times in business, and things are going to go our way.
Hmm.
And then God may be teaching us something. He may be preparing us for something that's coming around the corner that we would not be prepared for if everything was just perfect.
Right. Good. You talked about something. I'm going to call it short memory. That it's seasonal. In some ways, you want to have a short memory about certain things, and then you really want to have a long memory about other things. How have you seen that to be beneficial for you? And how do you determine, is this a let it learn the lesson, let it go, or learn the lesson and keep reminding yourself of it?
I think, one thing that my team identified with me is that I've got ADHD. And so I've got, 42 different things that I'm thinking about at any given moment, which can drive them nuts, but it's also helped us have vision and that's the role that I serve,
Right.
is really the true visionary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so like from a short term wins and losses, so to speak, I really focus more on the long term,
Okay.
and I try. One thing that I tried to do, and I learned this back in my 20s, is, I mean, you would move 3 steps forward, and sometimes you'd be 4 steps back,
Yeah.
and then you're right back up there, and you just have to keep going. And so that short term memory, I think, sometimes can get you into a like a negative energy loop, like
Mm,
you're just
right.
constantly spinning, and you can't find that traction to get out of it. Um, and the other thing, I think you've got to enjoy the journey. Like
Mm,
as an entrepreneur, as a business person, um, the journey's where it's at. Like we always look at like what's the outcome, and think about like your Christian journey.
okay. Yeah.
Like we know what the outcome is. I'm not racing to get there just yet because I feel like I haven't impacted everybody that I want to. I
Good.
feel like the relationships that there's still relationships for me to develop. And there's places that I want to get my team and my kids and my wife. Like there are things along that journey that need to be completed. And
Mm.
in business, it's no different.
Great. Yeah, I love that you said that because you're building both a business and a coaching program through Empire Ag. At what point did you realize that success wasn't just about growing a company, having the best equipment and that external stuff, but it really was about building people? Because I know that's your heart.
Yeah, it's been interesting because as I work with these ag professionals, and we get hit by the weather, we get hit by the markets, the banks put pressure on us. Like it's just like ag folks are just used to kind of being beat up a little bit,
Mm,
so to speak. Um, and so as I was working with this demographic, and we've worked with nearly 300 families across the country, you're seeing some common themes.
mm,
And the way that we've approached it is a three-legged stool. You
okay.
know, the body gets abused from just, one, we work and we like to tout that we'll outwork anybody. I mean, you've been to the coffee shops, Ray. I know
Oh yeah.
you've heard it. That does drive me nuts a little bit, but we will abuse ourselves physically, and then in turn, mentally we get drained, we
Hmm.
get burnout, we're at that where we're just the crusty old guy that's just negative about everything, you're a pessimist about life, and that bleeds into your spirituality.
Yeah.
I would say 99% of the people that I've worked with are all believers.
Mm,
They
hmm.
were they were raised with a belief in Christ. They've got knowledge, but they have literally weathered the storms and they've just beat them down
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I saw was if I could fix those three, if you could get two out of the three hitting on all cylinders, and the
Yeah.
other one maybe improving a little bit,
Mm,
all of a sudden we started making better decisions.
for sure.
And those decisions weren't emotionally based. They were more, we're going to run the analytics on it. Does it make sense to go this direction or to make this expansion move rather than some emotional pull that you gathered from the other negative folks you were surrounding yourself around?
Man, that's so good because it is a tendency just to focus on one area or maybe two and to say,
Yeah.
hey, your life is more than that. And if you've got one leg to stand on, you're always unstable. And if you get two, it's more than double better, but it's still not enough. And so doing that really is important. What are some of the hard lessons about growing a business that no one warned you about?
You know, you can start with the best laid idea, and I would say that a lot of things are timing. I think a lot of good businesses go unfinished or they don't quite make it to the masses.
Why do you think
Um,
that is?
I mean, one, I think we as individuals are very eager to take our idea and just like shove it forward. And
Okay.
I think a lot of that goes back to foundation.
Mhm.
You know, when we start to look at like scalability of business, when I started, it was me.
Right.
Um, I had an idea. I thought it would work. You know, you get one client, one turns to two, two
Hmm.
turns to five, and then you're like, hey, I've got five clients. I can scale this. This is going to be
Okay.
great.
Yeah.
But not really having the foundation and then always knowing like you need help. You
Hmm.
need, and for me, I had a branding and marketing agency that I hired. Got to be really good friends with Brooke, and she's now our chief operations officer, and um, she's the integrator. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah. Okay.
I come up
EOS,
with
huh? Okay.
EOS. Yeah,
I mean, I've heard that before.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's great.
So I'm the visionary, but I needed somebody, and I can come up with all the great ideas in the world, but I need somebody that can, where the rubber meets the road, like she's the implementer, she's the one that's going out and she knows how to get it put there. So like with our team that we've established now, we've got clear boundaries.
Hmm.
Everyone knows what they're responsible for. And so in those early days, like it was tough to take that. It's a great idea and we're helping and making impact, but nobody cares about that unless you can scale it.
Yeah.
And so for us, EOS has been crucial. Um, I always heard the buzzword systems and processes first.
Uh-huh.
Like now, I like that's not. I'm not going to focus on systems and processes when I'm 2 years into this company trying to grow it. Like it doesn't make
Hmm.
sense.
Okay.
Now I get it.
Right.
And I think once a business hits 10 employees, I think that's when you truly become a manager. That's when you truly become like you start to see the difference in personalities and how to best elevate your team to where they can hit their goals.
Right.
Um, and maybe you were conditioned just by past work experience to be a certain way. Um, it to me, I think it's really interesting to balance that as far as your love to serve
Hmm.
and to build people up and to create a space for them to thrive and do well and and still at the end of the day serve God and serve our purpose,
Right.
our greater purpose. Um, to balance that, I think it is tough at times, especially as the team grows.
Right. And I think you illustrated something that's really important. I've seen it in my coaching. Sometimes, I'll talk to somebody about the systems, the policies, and procedures, and they're just not ready. And
Yeah.
usually they get ready when they face the pain.
Hmm.
But it's one of the beautiful things about our ability to grow and we learn. And there is a time where it's like I don't have time to focus on that. Now I do encourage people, especially coaching with startups. Hey, you really want to get this in place now because it's better to build it on a good foundation now than to build it and have to tear some stuff down and remodeling. It's true about building a house or remodeling a house. Both of them are a stress on a family, but remodeling while you're living in it, like if you survive that, you've built a pretty good marriage. And so it's good to know at least those parts and have them in view. You said you've worked with 300 families, and so that's even more than 300 businesses. What do you consistently see holding leaders and entrepreneurs back from real growth that actually ends up scaling?
Letting go,
Okay.
like
Talk more
like
about that.
it goes back to trust. And I think for us, like, and even I've struggled with this, but I've truly like there comes a point where when you like I'll just use our business for instance. With us going through the EOS, style. Like I'm all about finding the right person for the right seat,
Hmm.
and then as we find that person, I've got to do a good job as a leader to create the framework to where they can play. Like I look at it this way: like I'm going to create the frame, you get to go paint the picture,
Right.
and it's like go do it. And but being able to let go, I do not need to micromanage, because if I have hired the right people and I've created an environment for them to flourish, they're going to do great. But if I try to lock them down so hard that they don't like coming to work, they don't like, and they don't let the creative juices flow like that, you're not going to get the output that you think you would.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
then
think
you're going to be battling people.
it is. That's great. I think often about a horse. You know, you're riding a horse, but if you got the reins and you're pulling back all the time, well, the horse is irritated, first of all, but you're
Yep.
not getting anywhere as quickly as you could because you're pulling the reins. And I agree, so many business owners, I think we have that. If it is to be, it's up to me, and I've got to know everything and control everything. And then even sometimes we don't necessarily label it pride or ego, but nobody knows as much as me, and no one could do it as well as I can, when the truth is God's gifted people in incredible ways and figuring it out. I think we all owe Jim Collins a huge thank you for that, right people on the bus and the right seat on the bus. Looked like there was something you really wanted to say about that.
You know, Ray, one of the things that happened just recently, and we've gotten that. So we've got our leadership team,
Hmm.
our executive side. We've got that middle layer that's kind of being developed right now, and for the first time, um, I had stuff going on that I didn't even know. I didn't even know it happened. Now I was buried up where I was serving and working, and then they had team meetings, developed it, and I was 100% behind it. But it was in a meeting that they brought it to me, and that was the coolest feeling to know that the system's working,
Hmm.
the people are flourishing, and they see it and they have ownership. Because I truly believe that we're building something that's big,
Right.
and and for us, like I'm trying to build a multi-tier program,
Hmm.
and we want to impact a lot of families. We want to create that sticky, and we want to create that ownership to where the families that are working in here, like they love it,
Yeah.
and want to pour more into it.
Yeah, and that's I think I heard John Maxwell talk about it, going from success to fulfillment. Like you can put some stuff on the board and go, yeah, I built something, but then when you do see people, whether it's in your own company or the people that you're coaching and serving, and you see their lives, their system, their business, their marriages, their faith getting better, like there's a real significance and some fulfillment there. What role has faith played in your decision making and leadership as your business and influence have grown?
I mean, I really think it's the core of kind of it's the core of everything that we've done. I mean,
Mhm.
I look at like in the coaching role, like knowing where, regardless of what denomination someone comes from, like there is a commonality that we have, and I think a lot of times we walk on eggshells in
Mhm.
this country because of the breakdowns that are there. But at the end of the day, like we are really all marching forward in the same direction. And then I think if we can build off of that,
Mm.
like our network is very open. We have a brotherhood call once a month where we're just trying to expand their knowledge, and it's been fun to watch the growth that happens, and then the clarity in their marriages and their businesses, and then you start seeing that transpose into financial gains.
Mhm.
Like it's just, I think in everything we do, faith has to be at the cornerstone, or like why are we even doing it?
Right.
Otherwise we've just created ourselves a job. And like for me, I feel like this is my ministry. This
Yeah.
is my mission trip that I get to go on every day across the country. I get to stay right here in Texas.
Yeah. What a beautiful thing. Have there been seasons, you kind of touched on it just then, where business pressure exposed weaknesses in your leadership, your mindset, or faith? And what did those seasons teach you?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say in the early years, while I there were some market situations that went on, we actually took a capital loss of $169,000.
Hmm.
And at that point in time in our life, that was not like I remember that very
It
vividly.
hurt.
It hurt,
Yeah.
and to know that I had liquidated my retirement account at that point in time to make sure that that debt was covered.
Hmm.
Um, and it was one of those situations where I was completely out of control.
Hmm.
Like I could not control any of the outcome, and I just vowed at that point. I was like, I've got to make sure that one, my clients don't ever go through that again,
Hmm.
and two, rather than build hatred and build that animosity towards that particular organization, um, I needed to establish a better system and process in what we're doing.
Hmm. Okay.
And you trust is everything, but I also realize that one, we're stewards of God's blessings, and things come, things go, and realizing that. And I think I was being taught a lesson at that
Hmm.
point in time,
Yeah.
um, because I didn't come for money. Uh, we've worked our tail off for everything that we've gotten and been able to build. And I think in that time, in that season, I think God was testing me.
Yeah.
And now, I think it perfectly put me in place to where I am today with the folks that we get to work with. And I think that lesson would not be, um, I just personally, I think that lesson would not have been able to come any other way than personally hitting your pocketbook.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what's the difference between someone who wants success and someone who's actually willing to become the person capable of handling it?
Ooh, that's a deep one right there. Ray, everybody wants to own a business,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody wants the success piece. And I think the thing about it, are you willing to take the journey?
Mm-hmm.
And the journey's not going to be easy. I mean, you got to think about the settlers that like the Oregon Trail, and
Uh-huh.
and
Oregon
follow.
Trail, you must be old. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
absolutely,
Go ahead.
absolutely. But I mean, think about that game that we used to play as kids, and just how tough and all the little things that you're going to come across. Are you
Mhm.
really, really willing to traverse all of those things, not make a paycheck for 3 years,
Ooh.
do all the dirty work, be blamed for everything that goes wrong, and are you okay with that? Because if you're not, I can tell you, you will not be successful.
Yeah.
And I've looked at business a couple different ways. Like I think you have a great idea, and then you get up to a certain level of success, and you're like, hey, we're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a place where we plateau, and we may actually revert back.
Right.
I think that first phase of pullback in a business, I bet we lose 70% of entrepreneurs that just from that first pullback.
Mm-hmm.
They'll quit whatever it is because it's the
Mm-hmm.
first like setback. They maybe don't have the stability
Mm-hmm.
in that, whether it's financial or whatever the case may be, but you've got to navigate those waters.
Yeah.
And then I think the second one, that's going to be the big one.
Okay.
That's the one that you're like, why am I even doing this? I've done it 3 to 5 years, and maybe the big payday hasn't come yet, but you're always telling yourself, like, it's coming. It's
Right.
coming. We're going to
Yeah.
get there.
It's one of the things I think about an entrepreneurial spirit is so optimistic and like, man, it's right there, it's right there. But it is important. You've talked about visionary and that dream. Like you hit the first one, and I don't think it's possible for us to know what we're capable of. But if you hit that first one, whatever the level is, there's always so much more. But if it's so many people I talk to are like, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. I didn't know it was going to cost this much. And you've talked about how important the journey is, and then it is they just give up without saying, wait. I'm really getting to the spot where I can grow and this thing become a real business and something that functions different. There are a lot of business owners who feel overwhelmed, they feel stuck or even burned out right now. What would you challenge them to change first?
Oh man, that's I think one, if you get stuck in that same old loop that, like you just can't get over the hump, like I think you've really got to look at one, is it the product? Is it the service? Um, and then and make sure that like one has that scalability piece,
Mm,
because are you the bottleneck that like you can't get over the hump because you're the one getting in your own way.
mm.
And so, and then the other thing is I've said this before, when good people walk in front of the gate, open the gate. Just
Yeah.
open the gate and hire them. Like I have hired good people when I didn't have the money to do it.
Yeah. Speaking of a faith test.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's like everybody talks about I can't find good help. I can't find the employees that want to buy in. No, they're there,
Mm,
but I promise you're not willing and ready to pay them what they need in order to turn them loose.
mm,
And one thing that I've seen is folks like that, you hire them, they will create revenue. They will
mhm.
pay for themselves longer term.
Yeah.
And it's just but it's hard. It's hard to visually see that whenever you're fighting in the trenches.
Yeah. And I think that's why one of the reasons it's so important to have some margin in your business, that you're not just eating every bit of the crop. When people interact with you personally or with your business or Empire Ag, what impact do you ultimately hope they experience beyond just business growth?
Yeah, so for us, like I want them to one have profitability. I mean, I want the financial profitability is a key component in order to take some of the pressure off so that they can. So like we try to develop cash flow. Agriculture stinks when it comes to a cash flowing business, but whatever that may be,
Hmm.
we can create that, then we take the pressure off. The
Right.
pressure creates the mental stress. The mental stress creates the spiritual stress. The spiritual stress and the mental stress combined, it creates the physical, just the I don't care, I don't want to
Hmm.
attitude.
Okay.
And I think once we get that kind of moving in the right direction, then they become better humans. And then they start to do things in their community, and you start to see these effects with their kids, with their wife. Like you can just I can see it on the calls, like just their complexion, who they are. They
Hmm.
don't they just don't look like the weight of the world is on them at that point. And I think long term, if we can achieve that, then we're impacting the world.
Hmm.
You know, because they're going to come in contact with 30 people, and it's just going to be this effect that continues to help spread and grow God's kingdom, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. As you were talking, I was thinking about just people, the energy they bring, the perspective they've got, just everything in your life improves your marriage, your parenting, the way you treat employees, vendors, just everybody. What do you believe God is teaching leaders right now that many people are resisting because it requires surrender, discipline, or change?
I I think right now we're at a pivotal point where the me, the I,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think is starting to get I think people are starting to look into that a lot as far as leaders go, because we have been conditioned, I think, in the last 50, 60 years, that like I was the change agent. I was responsible for everything good that happened. And I think as leadership has shifted, I think whether it's from I mean, I think it could be a lot of faith coming back into the business world, but I think a lot of leaders are starting to have that introspective thought of, hey, it's not really me, it's not really I that did all this. God opened those doors, which then created a path for my team to step in. And then now, like you start to see it flourish across the whole company, and it's hard. It's hard to see that, um, but I do think it goes back to that introspective reflection and thought you get to when you get to doing things and making decisions, keeping that and keeping prayer as part of your part of your process whenever you're trying to decide the direction of where you're headed.
Yeah. All right. I got two questions, and thanks, man. You've really been a blessing to me today, and I know everyone who's going to watch this or listen is going to be both challenged and encouraged. What's a favorite quote? One that just comes to your mind pretty often.
Oh man, Ray, that's a tough one. Ugh. Ooh, I don't know. Favorite quote. Um, I obviously preach the gospel and use words when necessary. I mean, I think is always a good one.
Yeah.
Um, and I
We've
think
got
we
a
can
we've
use
got a mutual friend who has that at the bottom of his email.
he does.
Yeah.
He does. And when you really think about that, it's so true. It doesn't matter. A lot of us think that, well, faith is only on Sundays or Wednesdays, but it's not. It's every day, and it's every day in business. It's everybody you interact with. So I think that one fits really well.
Okay. How about a favorite book or a book you're reading right now that's really it's equipped you, it's encouraged you?
So, one thing that we've obviously traction has been a big one
Mhm.
for us. We went through traction, and one of the things is I knew we needed to scale and how we were going to do that. Um, I mean, that was a big piece for us, and then actually hiring an implementer to help us through that process. I mean, that was tough. I mean, it was, but I know if I was trying to do it
Speaking of
myself,
letting go of the reins. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, there's another book, Zach Koss. He's got the AI, the next Renaissance,
Okay.
and I've been kind of learning a little bit from him. He was one of the first guys with open AI, and so it's one of those things where I am trying to embrace it and figure out ways for us to be more efficient. I think
Hmm.
there's good and bad with AI, but it's I think it can be good, and I think as business owners, like we need to kind of one study and understand these things at a much higher level than just the surface level coffee shop talk.
Yeah, I agree. It's there's a lot of either people are at the extremes, either totally embracing it or totally rejecting it. And I've asked, I'm sure you get asked about it often. I'm like, it's here, it is not going away, and so
Yep.
it's going to affect. It is already impacting your life. So you might as well at least learn how to use it and how to use it well, and maybe a few things to avoid. Um,
Yep.
Last thing, if you were talking to a business owner or leader, they're watching this today, and they say, you've talked a lot about trusting God and your faith and your business being together, that it's one thing. But man, I just really do think it's a Sunday, Wednesday thing. What would you encourage them to do? They say, okay, Jonathan, I'm willing to give it a try. But what's the first step I could take in that to have faith and business together?
I think one of the things is surround yourself with like-minded folks. Like I think find a network that truly is aligned with your business growth goals, and but then two, find folks that one are trying to build you up spiritually and mentally, because I think those if you can find that alignment there, and I think that will help push you forward,
Mhm.
because one, you've got that support structure there to keep you moving forward and moving to the next goal.
All right. Good. All right. Well, Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us. If somebody wanted to find out more about you, about what you do, your coaching or your business, how can they find you?
Yeah, just check us out at www.youragempire.com,
Okay.
and feel free to schedule a discovery call. Doesn't cost you anything.
All right. That's awesome. Well, again, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you and your heart and what you're doing, and appreciate you taking some time, making some time to bless a lot of folks through this podcast episode. And I want to encourage all of you watching or listening that it really is His kingdom and your calling. And so, Kingdom Entrepreneur is about recognizing God's ownership of everything, that He's entrusted you as a manager, and that we get the opportunity to be a blessing to a lot of people through the businesses that He's entrusted to us. Have a great day. I want to encourage you to share this episode and to like it so that more people can learn to live God's way. Have a great day.